So the fine people over at Mad Ghost and Image Comics decided to send me the first 3 issues of the upcoming Junkyard Joe comic book. This is kind of a spin-off, reimagining, an origin story, if you will, of Junkyard Joe. This character appeared in the Geiger comic book series from Jeff Johns and Gary Frank. I did reviews of all of those books. I think it's a fun read. I like that setting. So I was really excited to see what Junkyard Joe had to offer. That was a concept they put in that book that I thought, ooh, that could be something they want to play with. Turns out it was. The first issue of this book drops October 5th. If you get the black and white edition of the book, you can support veterans across the world. And in the US, you will get money sent to the National Coalition of Homeless Vets. And in the UK, a portion of the money will be sent to the Veterans Aid organizations. And I think that's a really cool thing because this is a war book. Without getting too much into the actual narrative of the story, it is pretty much about war and post-war feelings just in terms of the culture and climate. It's very much a book about America, and I think kind of more about like the Southwest or like the middle parts of America, like that kind of culture. I think it's very fascinating and captivating. There's a lot of fascinating angles that they play with in here. I'm very fascinated by it. You know that this crew, these two guys, Johns and Frank, they know how to work together and use each other to their strength, where if maybe something is lacking in the art department, it can be picked up in the writing. If something's lacking in the writing, it can be picked up with the art. These two know how to play off each other, and it makes for really great visual storytelling. And man, is this book kind of fun. Now, I'm not going to get too in-depth on the book. The first issue is kind of like, here's Junkyard Joe, this weird robot that's kind of sent to war. What does he do from there? Shenanigans maybe ensue. And then as the story progresses, we are asked with a couple questions. Who is he? What is he? Why is he here? Where has he gone? And how is this happening? And as that is kind of like the narrative unfolding, it goes into some really cool intrigue and mystery that I really enjoy to see. So much about this book is the spectacle. It definitely is an homage to classic comic books of like that war-torn kind of story, and then it morphs into like a narrative on comic books itself when you grow up in a world that worships these characters and the people behind the scenes on them. How does that play into your fantasy and what is real and what is story? It's pretty compelling in that sense, and the artwork just makes it look spectacular. Gary Frank is an artist I'm a huge fan of, and seeing their work here is just so breathtaking and beautiful. And Johns knows how to spin a yarn. He knows how to tell a good story. He knows the kind of characters you need to set up, the beats you have to hit. It all works together. If I have one criticism of this book, it's kind of towards the latter half of what I was given, where it feels like we're forcing a lot of character onto you, where it's like, here are a bunch of new characters for you to focus on. They're interesting enough characters that I think there's something compelling there, but it did feel very abrupt, where it was like, okay, now we're going into a whole new shift, and you're going to find these characters in the thing. It's still very compelling, and it's still very believable. Junkyard Joe himself is going to be a character that a lot of people are going to just like to see. It's a great design, it's a fun narrative for you to see with this character, and you can do a lot of different things. Now, without getting too spoilery, there is kind of like this really cool art shift that happens in terms of just like how we present the character, and it looks very fun, kind of just like retro in the way that this book is aiming for, and I really like to see that, just kind of like that cartoony splash of intrigue. It's very creative. And that's what I can say about this book. It feels like the spiritual successor or predecessor, or just spiritually connected to Geiger. And Geiger was just this huge sweeping story of all these colorful characters in this world, and there's so much still going on there. And getting the origin of a part of that is kind of just compelling to see. And it's setting up this really cool war story and talking about war and the ramifications of war and how you survive in that and what it does to you. It's kind of a fascinating thing to explore. Makes for some really fun books. And these 3 issues, they are very compelling. They all have their own narrative flow for each issue. Issue 1 has an ending, issue 2 has an ending, issue 3 has an ending. And I think a lot of people are going to be impressed with this because this is a great team. Whether you like some of their other works or not, you know that Johns and Frank working together can spin a good yarn, tell a great story, and play into each other's strength. So much about that is in this book, and it's very present. I like the dialogue. I like the art. It's a very strong book, and I just like that they spend enough time. I don't know if this is too spoilery, but they spend enough time at the end of the book to talk about like their personal connection to people in the military, and I think that's a really cool thing to see when you are, especially in like these times and these days, because there is like, maybe I picked up on this and it wasn't the intention. There was like this kind of interesting idea being presented of post-Vietnam and today's climate, and how people are viewing just like the neighbor next door that's kind of strange to you. I think that's kind of like a fun area that this book kind of explored, and then being able to like have these creators, the people involved in the process of this book, talk about their personal connection to the military in today's climate, I think makes for just an extra layer of fun. And again, you can support veteran organizations around the world if you buy this book. That's kind of exciting because it's just entertaining. You know, it is a war comic with the Geoff Johns appeal, with the Gary Frank art. It is beautiful and creative. Everything works perfectly. Everything looks beautiful. A super cool narrative with mystery, intrigue, and something that everyone's going to relate to. And it's a little bit of a meta-narrative on the comic book industry itself, which is kind of creative and kind of fun to see. Junkyard Joe, I'm digging it. I think a lot of people are going to want to check this one out. The first issue does come out October 5th, and I recommend reading it. It's really creative and fun. So, Junkyard Joe, the first 3 issues, issues 1, 2, and 3, I am going to give an 8 out of 10. Now, thank you guys for watching this video, and thank you to the people at Mad Ghost for sending this book my way. I really much enjoyed reading it. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. If you want to hear me talk about Geiger and other Geoff Johns and Gary Frank books, I have all of them on this channel. You can read it and hear my reviews on it. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, and as always, I will catch you in the next one. Have fun, stay safe. Good luck.